What's up, Spice Rack? It's your girl Spice, and this is another episode of Spice's Diary, where every bite feeds the soul and every story heals the heart. And today I'm going to share with you one of my hidden talents, cake decorating. This is something that I taught myself how to do, and I am actually really proud of myself for even doing it because I never, ever considered myself to be someone creative or artistic. I never really thought I had what it took to cut it. I think a lot of that comes from the fact that, I had a mother that was incredible at every single thing. She didn't have to work at it. She didn't have to practice it. She was super artistic, super talented, super musical. Anything that you could do with your hands, with art, with creativity, she did it. And she did it just naturally. And so, I was the oldest and I was a daughter. So, of course, naturally, I'm following in her footsteps, trying to be everything as wonderful as she is. But it was always so difficult to keep up with her because I just never could. She just had it,
I sure do miss
And I
her.
think that was something that I struggled with for a while because I just always lived in her shadow. Not because anybody put me there. It was just because my mom naturally shines so bright. And so she was a hard act to follow. Over the years, she would ask me to try things. And because I couldn't do it as good as she did, I'd always say, no, I'm not creative. No, I can't do it. No, I'm not artistic. No, I don't like doing arts and crafts. And that just became this narrative that I told myself. Wasn't really something that I believed, but I just didn't feel like I was as good as everybody else. I remember in school, there was the girls that always have their penmanship marked and get awards for it. And I would work so hard to get penmanship. And I remember people started to compliment me on my penmanship. And I felt like, ooh, okay, well then that's my claim to fame. Until Jessica Cleveland came and her penmanship always made the board. And I was just booting my little paper off the board. So I remember I've always had an issue with comparing myself to other people. And because I couldn't do it like they did it, I always would think that it wasn't good enough. Instead of realizing they can't do it like you do it, boo.
Everybody clap your hands. They not like us. I took a pocket, hey.
That's the issue. And it's not even an issue. They do it how they do it. You do it how you do it. And you add a little sparkle to it. You're a little razzle. Don't be sad because they can't understand it. Because maybe they're just not supposed to. I wish that I could go back and tell that little girl that now. I wish I could go back and tell that little girl that then. Because that's how she would address it now. Because that girl knows now that she's enough. She's always been enough. And she will always be enough. Moving on. So fast forward to now. But before COVID had started, that was kind of when TikTok was coming along, and I was already a big YouTube freak. Like, I love watching YouTube, still do. I just love watching and creating content, y'all. I use it kind of as my search engine. Like, if I don't know how to do it, I YouTube it. I watch videos. That's just my thing. That was definitely a skill I learned from my parents. We learned how to DIY and make something from nothing. We didn't have the money for all the extras, so if we wanted it, we had to learn how to do it ourselves. And that's something I have learned and became very good at over the years. Well, I started getting to watching cake making because it was during the time I was picking up Pookie from taking him home back to work release. So I wouldn't get back to my house until like 1 o'clock in the morning. Anywhere between 12:30 and I'd be kind of amped up from seeing him. So I would just be up and wired awake and I couldn't fall asleep. And that's honestly when I started getting into my secret hidden joy of watching mukbangs and ASMR and cake decorating. That's where that started. And so I decided I'm going to teach myself how to decorate cakes. And so I remember mentioning that to some friends when they asked me what I wanted for my birthday. And they blessed me with the whole starter cake set. Big shout out to my girls, Kristen and Mary. Love you ladies. They bought me my first turntable. They bought me my first scraper, my first spatulas, some glitter dust, my big piping tubes, the big tips. They just hooked it up so I had no excuse but to start. So from TikTok and YouTube University, I taught myself how to decorate cakes. And at first I just started doing it for my friends and family because I wasn't good at all. And if you go back and see them, if you see some of my first cakes, girl, why did you give those out? Because you were just starting. And we all have to start somewhere. We all had to start somewhere. And even now, I look at this and I find 1,000 things that are just so wrong with it. But then I also have to remember, girl, you literally taught yourself how to do this yourself. While you were stuck in the house on quarantine, waiting for your man to come home. You taught this yourself by watching other people doing it, trying to slow down the videos. They speed up the videos. We speed up the videos. else y'all be here all day. And you're just trying to do something that's fun. It's quickly become another way for me to express my love. An extension of my heart, if you will. Because I've always been a foodie, and I love to feed, to heal. I love food to share, and I love food to help me express how much I love you. And this has been another outlet for me to be able to do that. And it also just gives me another opportunity to touch base with that little girl. It's kind of like I get to go back and treat that little kid that thought she was horrible at everything and just give her own craft day. Every time someone puts in an order and they give me something that they're like, okay, how about this? And I'm like, let me add it. Let me try. So it does take me back to being that little girl who didn't think she was good, and that she's showing that, like, yeah, you are good. You can do anything you want. You can do anything you put your mind to. Heard it all before. But it's true. And you're the only person telling you that you're not good at something. I'm really trying not to do that anymore, you guys. So much easier said than done. I have had so much negative self-talk over the years. Like, it had gotten to the point where I'm constantly second guessing every single thing that I do. And I have no reason to, because every single thing that I've ever done, it's turned out just like it's supposed to. And better than I could imagine in most cases. And even if it wasn't perfect, I still learned so much from it and got exactly what I needed from it. So I'm not sure why I do that. Because you crazy girl. And Satan loves to mess with God's favorites. But I will say that I've been just really working on myself a lot. I tell you guys that all the time, but I'm trying to find out where all these negative thoughts came from. Where did I learn how all these negative and not such great behaviors? Where is this toxic people pleasing come from? Where's my resentment and anger and self-doubt and self-loathing sometimes? Where does that come from? So I've been trying to do the work on that, and it has been hard and difficult, and I had to take a lot of accountability for things that I have let happen and things that I've contributed to, and also just my part in not knowing, like, those are not okay things to do. Those are not okay things to say. It's not always easy. But I'm going back to find that little girl, and I keep trying to find her and remind her that you are just wonderful just how you are. And you don't have to be like anybody else. And everything that you thought you had to be, let me just tell you, you don't have to. Because it's not even worth it. You made all these plans for this girl that you thought you were supposed to be. And it's not even something that you even want anymore. So it does take a lot of practice. I'm learning how to let go and just try and have fun with it. And I'm also having to remember that I don't owe anybody anything but myself. You just keep letting your light shine, boo. That's what you do. And I actually owe myself a lot. And I could even start with an apology for one. Because for a long time, I just let everybody else's thoughts or feelings about me and my life be more important than my thoughts and feelings about me and my life. I let those same thoughts be what dictated what I did and didn't do. It was all because I thought I was doing things to ensure that I would have this family unit that I thought I was, I don't know, entitled, if entitled is the right word, but I thought it was something that just was going to be what I had because it was what I had growing up. And then I'm realizing everything that I thought my life was going to look like was based on something that my life has just turned out not to be. It was based on something that my life has turned out not to be. Not even close. All of the people that I thought were going to be my number ones or my day ones or stay in my life or just have a really big part in my life, most of them have no part in my life at all now. Or if they do, their role has dramatically diminished. That's weird for me and a little scary. It caused me to take some stock. I had to look in the mirror and do a lot of reflection and take accountability for what my role was in these relationships and their failure and really address that. And I'm still addressing that within myself. Because at no point do I think everything lands on someone else or that all of these relationships fail because of other people and their fault. I know I played a role in it. I'm just determining what the role was that I played and if it was a role that necessary or if there's other ways I need to respond or react, who I need to pick and choose and how I need to move differently and what parts of my personality need an adjustment, where I need to start taking accountability or saying I'm sorry, apologizing, and changing my behavior. And stop prioritizing people who only make you an option. There's always room for improvement, but there's also room for kicking people out who do not deserve the space, time, energy. It's weird because so many of my thoughts, plans, and dreams included these people. But then now, when I look at what my life has turned out to be, it's also weird because I can't even imagine them still being in my life at this point. And then I have to make sure that I don't feel bad about it because it's not that there's hard feelings. Not anymore. There were, but not anymore. Like, I see why it was necessary. I see why all of it was necessary. point. You know what they say, seasons, reasons, and lessons. I see why the hurt had to happen, the disappointment had to happen, my loneliness, the sacrifice, being misunderstood, me learning how to interact and react, me learning where my strengths and weaknesses are, me learning where my triggers are, me learning who loves me and how they show up for me. How I show up for myself is important. What equates to love to me. Me learning how I want to be loved. And me learning that that's enough. The fact that I don't like it or that I do require it is enough. And if people can't do that, that's okay too. Then I get to make my choice. I'm just embracing the fact that I have been given the opportunity to make choices. And to me, that is one of the biggest riches and freedoms you can have. The freedom of choice, the freedom of space, the freedom to choose who gets to be in your space. I am embracing that I get to choose now. This is my life, and I'm living it for me and my family. Period.